North Korea has acknowledged that it successfully test-fired an intercontinental ballistic missile for the second time. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has described the country's weapons program as, quote, an invaluable asset that cannot be taken back. He's called the second ICBM launch a stern warning for America, saying it puts the entire U.S. territory within striking range. Earlier on Friday, U.S. President Donald Trump condemned North Korea's actions as, quote, reckless and dangerous. Trump warned Pyongyang about the consequences of such tests. He pledged to spare no effort to protect the U.S. and its allies in the region. The missile flew nearly 1,000 kilometers before landing west of Japan's island of Hokkaido on Friday. In response to North Korea's latest missile launch, the U.S. and South Korea have conducted a joint ballistic missile exercise. The Pentagon said in a statement that the missiles were fired into territorial waters of South Korea along the East Coast. The joint exercise came after the heads of the U.S. and South Korean militaries discussed military response options to North Korea's launch by phone. In separate statements, the United Nations chief and the European Union have condemned Pyongyang's action. The French Foreign Ministry has also called for immediate adoption of UN Security Council sanctions against North Korea. Meanwhile, South Korea's president has issued a stark warning to the North, pledging to punish the country.
In accordance with the result of detailed analysis, North Korea will pay the corresponding price and face strong measures against the country. We sternly warn that if North Korea continues its missile provocations, we will firmly prepare ourselves with various core military strength. North Korea should not misjudge or test our will.
President Moon further urged North Korea to awake from what he called the false delusion of nuclear and missile development and choose to come out to the path of truthful dialogue. His government has announced that it will proceed with the deployment of 4 additional units of the U.S. THAAD missile system after the North's missile launch. For more on that, let's bring in Jason Unruhe. He's a political commentator and analyst from Ontario. Mr. Unruhe, thank you for joining us. So following North Korea's latest missile launch, South Korea intends to add additional U.S. THAAD missile systems. Both sides are stretching their military muscles and accusing each other of making provocative actions. Who's to blame here?
Well, I think it's definitely the United States to blame. The DPRK has said that it really only wants to live in peace and carry out mutually beneficial trade with each of its neighbors. But the United States seems absolutely incensed that U.S. imperialism cannot allow the DPRK to function on its own. It cannot allow them to have their independence. So the whole point of the entire Korean War was to try to prevent that, which, as we saw, was not successful. The DPRK maintains such a very important strategic place within Asia on the border of China and Russia, which are both opponents of the United States. It's the United States who has placed sanctions on the DPRK since the end of the war, trying to prevent them from developing. The DPRK has no ability to really do anything else to the United States. Until now. Now with the new nuclear technology, the nuclear weapon technology they have, they are very capable of defending themselves. And thus far, only the DPRK really only has the ability to defend itself. It can't particularly do any harm to the United States as the United States can to the DPRK.
And Mr. Unruhe, we heard yesterday the U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson pointing his finger at Russia and China for the threats coming out of North Korea. On what basis does Tillerson make such a remark?
Oh, Tillerson is just trying to blame China and Russia for not having pressured the DPRK enough into following the will of the U.S. Russia and China are not responsible for what the DPRK does. They have their own destiny and their own decision of what it is that they want to do with their own country. They have independence. And it is not the fault of other countries for not continuing to push American pressure on them for them not bowing to said U.S. pressure. Rex Tillerson is just trying to shame both China and Russia into carrying out U.S. interests inside the DPRK.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Jason Unruhe, for sharing your thoughts with Press TV. That was Jason Unruhe, a political commentator and analyst out of Ontario.